Hi, guys. Welcome back to True Crime with Tiff Klein, giving criminals the disrespect they deserve. I know it's been a while since I have made a podcast, since I have gone live, since I've done anything, and that is because I've had the flu. It's not been fun. I was knocked on my ass for today's 9 days, and then yesterday I had a stomach flu on top of it. But I'm feeling a little better. I'm snowed in, and I wanted to get on here and do a podcast. Some things going on. Unfortunately, I missed an event in Georgia this past weekend with my friend Aspen. And it was the 10-8 event with Cheryl McCollum, Joe Scott Morgan, Nancy Grace, Susan Hendricks. And I was going to go with my friend Linny, but I backed out because I wasn't feeling well and didn't want to overdo it. Well, good thing I didn't because I ended up with the flu. So I heard that was a great event. Good job, Cheryl. And in April, I was invited to Albuquerque, New Mexico to go live in front of an audience with my podcast at the Beyond the Crime convention. Gabby Petito's mothers, Tara and Nikki, will also be there, as well as my friend, Danny After Dark, and many other guests. I couldn't go because of the last minute turnaround, but I was invited for 2027, so hopefully I'll get to do that. In April, there's also a true crime book event in the Hamptons with Cheryl McCollum and Joe Scott Morgan. I might go, depends. And then, of course, I'll be at CrimeCon in Vegas in May. Then there is a true crime story book event, Book Fest in Boston in October, where my girl Danny After Dark is going to be, and Cheryl McCollum, and I might go. I've never been to Boston, always wanted to go, so we'll see. I don't know of anything else really going on in the true crime world right now. It seems to be a little quiet, which makes me nervous, besides the Columbus murders that happened to the dentist and his wife. And that's been going strong. And Luigi Mangione is supposed to be going to trial now in September. That one's still going. And I haven't really paid attention to some things in the news lately. I've been resting. But I wanted to dive into one that's local, needs to stay in the forefront of the media. And it's about a woman who went missing in Luzerne County, Pennsylvania in 2004. Now, if you're a fan of The Office, you will recognize the towns Scranton and Wilkes-Barre. Scranton's in Lackawanna County, and Wilkes-Barre's in Luzerne County. Phylicia Thomas went missing February 11th, 2004, in Sweet Valley, Hunlocks Creek area in Luzerne County, which is very close to my home. And this is a case that has haunted the community for years. The podcast episode is called The Girls Who Knew Too Much, The Disappearances of Jennifer Barziloski and Phylicia Thomas.
Hi, I'm Pauline Bailey, mother of Phylicia Thomas, who went missing in 2004 at the age of 22.
Hi, my name is Judy Fisher, and I'm a family friend of Phylicia Thomas.
Phylicia was a little sweetheart. She was always bringing home stray kittens, stray puppies. She was always looking out for the underdog. At school, there'd be a problem. She'd pick on the bullies that were picking on the kids that were picked on all the time. She was really loving. Everybody loved her. Phylicia was last seen at her home in Lake Township, Pennsylvania on February 11, 2004. Phylicia was working at the pumpkin pantry. Her shift was over at 11:30. She got a ride home from a gentleman. He was very sweet. He watched her walk in the door and he made sure she was safe. Now, when she got in there, she asked her boyfriend for beer. He said they were out on the quad. And he said she went out to get it, and then he never saw her again. She just disappeared into thin air. I believe that Phylicia's case is directly involved with another missing girl, Jennifer Barziloski. Years ago, Phylicia told me that her friend Jen disappeared, and that a man took her and that she knew it. And she said, "Mom, I'm going to prove it. It happened." I seriously think that whoever had taken Phylicia was directly involved with Jim Barziloski, too. I think both girls were taken by the same people.
Steve Martin was a big suspect in taking both girls.
I honestly don't believe that Steve Martin could take these girls down alone. Phylicia had 5 brothers. She could fight. It'd take more than one man to take her down. There's no way that one man did this. And I just really worry for other young girls out there and their parents, and to never have to go through this. In 2010, they did find the skull of Jennifer Barziloski, but they need to find the rest of the remains.
We believe that there's many other people that know what happened to Phylicia and Jennifer. There is a $2,000 reward in Crime Stoppers. If anybody has any information on the whereabouts of Phylicia Thomas, please call 1-800-4PA-TIPS, or you can email us at findphylicia@gmail.com. You can remain anonymous in anything that you tell us.
I just can't believe she's gone. I know it's almost 11 years. I just can't believe she's gone. Please, somebody, just help us and bring this to an end.
Tonight we're traveling into the rural backroads of Luzerne County, Lake Township, Hunlock Creek, Ross Township. These places where the mountains are quiet, the nights are long, and secrets have a way of settling into the soil. This is the story of two young women, best friends, whose lives were intertwined long before the world realized their disappearances might be connected. This is the story of Jennifer Barziloski and Phylicia Thomas, and the haunting question that has echoed for more than 2 decades. Did Phylicia disappear because she knew what happened to Jennifer? This is about Jennifer Barziloski, June 23rd, 2001. 11 o'clock p.m. in Edwardsville, Pennsylvania. 18-year-old Jennifer leaves her home in Lake Township. She's young, vibrant, and full of plans. And she's last seen with her sister's boyfriend, Steve and Martin, at a local bar. Jennifer never makes it home that night. No calls, no sightings, no trace. Her disappearance rattles the community, but answers never come. Rumors swirl about parties, drugs, violence, and a circle of people who seem to always be around when bad things happened. In the months after Jennifer disappears, her close friend Phylicia Thomas tells her mother she believes she knows what happened to Jennifer and who is responsible. It's a chilling confession, and it puts a target on her back. February 11th, 2004, this is 3 years after Jennifer went missing. 11:30 p.m., Pump and Pantry at Lake Township. 22-year-old Phylicia Albina Thomas finishes her shift at the convenience store. A worker said she was in good spirits, and she headed home to the small house that she shared with her boyfriend. She was still in her work clothes, a blue shirt and a hemp necklace that she almost always wore, with a red fringed sweater. Phylicia got home, stepped outside without her coat, without a purse or a phone, and she wanted to grab a beer that was left on an ATV outside, but she never returned. By morning, she's gone, and her family immediately knows something is wrong. Phylicia was dependable, loving, and close to her mother, Pauline Bailey. And Pauline remembers what her daughter said about Jennifer. Both of the disappearances orbit the same rural pocket of Luzerne County. Both young women knew the same people. They were both connected to the same man, Stephen Martin, a person of interest in Jennifer's case, and a name that repeatedly surfaces in the community that whispers about Phylicia. 9 years after Jennifer vanished, her skull is found in a wooded area of Hunlock Township, along an ATV trail, but no other remains were recovered. The discovery confirms what her family feared. Jennifer didn't walk away. She met with violence. Jennifer was last seen June 23rd, 2001, outside of C. Major's bar in Edwardsville. She was last seen with Stephen Allen Martin, the same man who later became person of interest in Phylicia's disappearance. Jennifer and Phylicia were friends from Lake Township. And again, Phylicia's family believes Phylicia was actively investigating Jennifer's disappearance and may have vanished because she was closing in on the truth and knew too much about what happened to her friend. While Jennifer's remains were partially recovered, there have been no conclusive answers regarding her exact cause of death, and no one has ever been charged in the connection with her murder. Now, I mentioned Stephen Allen Martin. What was the link between these two women? He was the best friend of Phylicia's boyfriend. He had previously dated Jennifer's sister, and he was the last person seen with Jennifer and was considered a primary person of interest in both cases until he took his life in prison in 2005. Over the years, the community efforts have largely focused on specific properties in Hunlock Township, especially where witnesses claim a party took place the night Phylicia disappeared. For years, Pauline Bailey pushes investigators, organizes searches, and follows every lead, even when it puts her in danger. She believes her daughter's remains may also be hidden somewhere in Hunlock Township. Golf Course Road primarily. Pauline has specifically requested that authorities search a property along Golf Course Road in Lehman Township, and as well as sites in Hunlock Township, believing her daughter was buried in one of those locations following the events at the party. There have been private cadaver dog teams that search these wooded areas near the suspected party location. These teams have reported hopeful results or alerts in specific spots, though no remains belonging to Phylicia have ever been recovered. The fact that Jennifer Barziloski's skull was found in 2010 in the woods of Hunlock Township, less than a mile from where Steve Martin once lived, has reinforced the family's belief that the party and the disposal of the victims occurred within the same geographic radius. Her family and friends believe she was attacked and killed at a party in Hunlock Township, and that's where they believe she's buried. Witnesses at this party reported hearing Phylicia screaming, claiming she told those attacking her, "You know my family is never going to let you get away with this." Again, her family believes multiple individuals were involved in her murder and disposing of her body. Because Jennifer's skull was found in a wooded area of Hunlock Township, many believe Phylicia is in the same area. Despite these alerts and various private excavations, no remains belonging to Phylicia have ever been recovered. The search continues to be hindered by the fact that the primary suspect, Steve Martin, committed suicide in 2005 without revealing any locations. Investigators didn't have much to go on until they looked at the circle of friends. Again, specifically a man named Steve Martin. He was the common denominator. But before the police could squeeze him for answers, in Phylicia's case, Stephen was sent to prison for an unrelated vehicular homicide. In 2005, he took his own life in his cell and he never confessed. He never gave up a location and he took what he knew to the grave. In small towns, secrets are like groundwater. They run deep and they eventually surface. For years, rumors have circulated about a party in Hunlock Township the night Phylicia disappeared. Pauline Bailey has been a force of nature in this investigation. She's heard the stories of a snuff party, stories of Phylicia being killed and her body being disposed on the specific property. Pauline has become one of Pennsylvania's most vocal advocates for missing persons. In the early days of the investigation, Pauline felt that local law enforcement wasn't doing enough. She took it upon herself to interview witnesses and follow up on the rumors about the party. Pauline has publicly stated that she knows who was at that party that night. She has spent years directly calling on those individuals to break their code of silence. Every year, since 2004, Pauline has organized a vigil. These aren't just for mourning. They are strategic events designed to keep Phylicia's face in the news so that whoever killed her never truly feels safe or forgotten. Pauline has often said that while she wants justice, her primary goal is simply to bring her daughter home. She has spent her own money and collaborated with private canine handlers to search properties when official warrants weren't being issued. I know she's out there. I know someone saw something. That has been Pauline's mantra for over 2 decades. She pushed these investigators, organized searches, and followed every lead. There is a parallel timeline, like I suggested. 2001, Jennifer's disappearance, last seen with Steve Martin. Rumors of violence and a party gone wrong, and Phylicia began asking questions. From 2002 to 2003, Phylicia grows more vocal. She tells her mother she knows what happened to Jennifer. She names names, and she becomes afraid. February 11th, 2004, Phylicia disappears. She steps outside her home, and she vanishes. No signs of struggle, no belongings taken. In 2010, 6 years later, Jennifer's skull is found. Location deepens suspicion of foul play. No arrests. From 2018 to 2025, investigators revisit leads. Journalists highlight the cases and families continue to public pleas. The families that were left behind, like Jennifer's family, waited 9 years for even a fragment of her to be found. Her death remains officially undetermined, but her family believes she was murdered. Pauline Bailey has spent 20-plus years searching for her daughter, Phylicia. She believes someone in the community knows exactly where Phylicia is and why she was taken. She says, "It's a nightmare, but I will never stop." Phylicia was 5'6" with blue eyes. Again, last seen in a red fringed sweater and a handmade hemp necklace. If you know what happened at that party in Hunlock Creek, or you know what lies beneath that soil on Golf Course Road, it's time to end the silence. Phylicia was 22 and had a whole life ahead of her, only because she was looking for answers about her friend that died. Jennifer Barziloski was 18. Phylicia was 22. They were daughters, sisters, friends, and they laughed together, worked together, lived in the same rural community, and vanished 3 years apart. Their stories are not cold. Their families are not done. And neither are we. If you know anything at all, about what happened to Jennifer or Phylicia, please come forward. Silence protects the wrong people. Some stories don't fade with time. Some stories grow louder. And in Luzerne County, Pennsylvania, 2 names have become a quiet drumbeat beneath the surface of everyday life. Jennifer Barziloski and Phylicia Thomas. 2 young women, 2 disappearances, 3 years apart. one overlapping circle of people, and a community still wanting truth. We're not just revisiting their cases, we're walking through the timeline step by step, moment by moment, to understand how two lives became intertwined in tragedy. Jennifer was funny and warm and deeply loved. The night she was last seen was with Steve Martin, her sister's boyfriend. They leave a bar together. It's late, it's summer, and it's the last time anyone sees her alive. Her family reported her missing immediately, but the investigation moves slowly. There's no crime scene, no witnesses, no physical evidence. Rumors swirled, and in the middle of it all, a young woman who knows more than she should stood Phylicia Thomas. They both knew the same people. They hung out at the same houses. They crossed paths with the same men. And one name kept coming up, Steve Martin. As the pressure builds, Phylicia became increasingly anxious. She tells friends she feels watched. She tells her mother she's afraid something might happen to her, and then it does. Her family knows instantly that something is wrong. When Phylicia stepped outside to get that beer on the ATV with no coat, no purse, no phone, no reason to leave for long, she never came back. Phylicia was responsible. She was close to her mother, and she wouldn't vanish voluntarily. And Pauline remembers her daughter's warnings, her fear, her knowledge about Jennifer. The connection becomes impossible to ignore. Pauline organized searches, confronted people, pushed investigators, was on Dateline, and refused to let her daughter become another forgotten case. She hears stories about a trailer, about violence, about a body being moved, about people bragging, but nothing concrete enough for an arrest. 9 years after Jennifer vanished, 9 years, a skull was found. No other remains were ever recovered, but the location raises eyebrows. It's an area connected to people both girls knew. Jennifer didn't run away, she was killed. And if Phylicia knew what happened, her disappearance became even more chilling. State police say both investigations remain active. Families say they've given names, leads, and locations. Journalists continue to highlight the case. Community members whisper about what they've heard, but no arrests have been made. Pauline believes Phylicia's remains are somewhere in Hunlock Township. She believes her daughter was silenced because she knew too much about Jennifer. How come nobody was ever charged with either case? Well, it's hard to say considering Stephen Martin took his life in prison. There's a difference between knowing what happened and being able to prove it in court. And these two cases sit right in that gap. Because Jennifer's skull was the only thing found, there was no cause of death, no trauma analysis, no DNA from a perpetrator, and no clothing or personal items. And without a cause of death, prosecutors can't prove homicide beyond a reasonable doubt. For Phylicia's case, no remains have been found, no crime scene, and no physical evidence tying any suspect to her disappearances. In both cases, investigators are essentially working with absence, not evidence. There are witnesses who talk, but they won't testify. Both of these cases have been long surrounded by rumors, confessions made while intoxicated, secondhand accounts, people claiming they heard what happened, individuals who allegedly bragged about involvement. But here's the problem. Most of these statements are not admissible in court, and the people who could testify often change their stories, refuse to cooperate, fear retaliation, are tied to drugs, addiction, or criminal activity, and are considered unreliable by prosecutors. A case can't be built on whispers. Both Jennifer and Phylicia were connected to a group of people who had criminal histories, were known to be violent, were involved in drugs, had reputations for threatening witnesses. This created a climate where people are afraid to come forward. Those who know something stay silent. And tips come in anonymously, but are making them hard to verify. Fear is a powerful barrier to justice. Over the years, both families have said that leads weren't followed quickly enough. Certain individuals weren't questioned thoroughly, and early searches were limited. Evidence that could have been existed was lost to time, and when a case goes cold early, it becomes exponentially harder to revive. In Phylicia's case, prosecutors face the hardest legal hurdle. You must prove a person is dead before you can prove they were murdered. Without remains, the DA would need strong forensic evidence, a confession, a credible witness, and they have none of these. Even if investigators believe they know who did it, they cannot charge someone unless they can prove it. Unless they can prove a crime occurred, a specific person committed it, or evidence supports guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Right now, they don't have enough to meet that threshold. And this is the part that haunts both families. The people involved know how to stay quiet. Same names come up again and again, the same locations, the same stories, the same patterns, but the people who know the truth, they won't talk, they won't testify, and they won't turn on each other. And without someone breaking that silence, the cases remain stuck. The system wasn't built for cases like this, with rural disappearances involving drugs and domestic violence and poverty and fear and social circles that protect each other. These cases fall through the cracks far too often, and Jennifer and Phylicia deserved better. No one has been charged because investigators don't have the physical evidence. They don't have witness cooperation or prosecutable proof needed to bring a case to trial. But that does not mean they don't have suspects. They don't know who is involved. They don't believe foul play occurred. And it does not mean that they stopped investigating. It means the system requires a level of proof that these cases, because of time, fear, and silence, have yet been able to produce. The cases were compromised early, and time became the enemy. Evidence disappeared fast. Scenes get contaminated in rural areas, and people don't call police right away. Rumors spread faster than facts. By the time investigators realized these weren't walkaways, critical hours and days were already gone. In Jennifer's case, 9 years passed before even a skull was found. In Phylicia's case, the first 48 hours, crucial in any missing persons investigation, were chaotic and incomplete. Once time is lost, it can never be recovered. And this is the part that frustrates investigators and devastates families. The same stories, the same locations, the same patterns of behavior, and the same names come up over and over. But again, the people who know the truth refuse to testify, contradict themselves, recant statements, fear retaliation, are tied to drugs or criminal activity, and they protect each other. This is a closed circle, and closed circles don't break easily. Since there's no body, there's no cause of death for Phylicia. This is one of the biggest barriers of her case. To charge someone with homicide, prosecutors must prove the victim is dead, the death was caused by another person, and prove the suspect is responsible. But without this, the DA is left with circumstantial evidence, rumors, and inconsistent witness statements. That's not enough for convictions. And prosecutors won't file charges. They know they can't win. And Jennifer's remains were too limited to build a case. Since only her skull was found, no other bones, no clothing, no personal items, no trauma analysis, no cause of death, they can't prove she was murdered. They can't prove how she died, and they can't tie her death to a suspect. Even if they believe she was killed, belief isn't evidence. Even if the investigators privately believe they know who did it, they cannot charge someone unless they can prove it. They don't have a confession. They don't have a body of Phylicia. They don't have a cause of death for Jennifer. They don't have cooperating witnesses. They don't have forensic evidence. They don't have a crime scene. This case would collapse in court, and a failed prosecution would mean the suspect would walk free forever. The hardest part for their families is there are people in Luzerne County who know. They know what happened, where it happened, who was involved, where the remains are, why both girls disappeared, and they've chosen silence for more than 20 years. And until someone breaks, this case remains stuck. These cases haven't gone unsolved because the truth is unknown. They've gone unsolved because the truth is unproven. There's a big difference, a heartbreaking, infuriating difference. In rural communities, especially ones with tight social circles like this, drug activity, and long-standing personal ties, there's often an unspoken rule. You don't talk, you don't snitch, and you don't cross the wrong people. Jennifer and Phylicia were surrounded by those type of people. It's created a shadow network, which a group of people who may not be organized, but who can operate in shared silence and mutual protection. In cases like this, the truth isn't hidden because it's unknown. It's hidden because it's dangerous. People talk in whispers. People talk in bars. People talk in private messages. People talk to each other, but they don't talk to police. Why? Again, they fear retaliation. They fear losing access to drugs. They fear being targeted. They fear being ostracized. And they fear being the next one to disappear. This is why investigators often say they're one witness away from solving the case, but witness never steps forward. The missing body problem with Phylicia is the single biggest barrier in her case. Again, without remains, prosecutors must prove she is dead, she didn't leave voluntarily, that someone caused her death, and a specific person is responsible. This is almost impossible without forensic evidence, a confession, or a cooperating witness. Families have said for years that the realities of rural policing in the early 2000s, once those early opportunities are lost, they can't be recreated. Cold cases don't get easier with time, they get harder. Both Jennifer and Phylicia were young, in unstable environments, connected to people involved in drugs, surrounded by dangerous individuals. And cases involving young women in these circumstances often get less urgency, less media attention, less investigative pressure, and more victim blaming. Their lives were treated as less urgent. Their disappearances were treated as less suspicious, and their families had to fight for every inch of attention. That delay cost them justice. Now, why does Stephen Martin's name keep coming up? Well, again, his proximity to Jennifer Barziloski the night she disappeared. It's widely reported as that he was the last known person to have been with Jennifer on the night she vanished, June 23rd, 2001. He was dating Jennifer's sister at the time, which placed him inside her immediate social circle. The proximity alone doesn't make someone guilty, but in missing person cases, the last person seen with the victim is always scrutinized. In this case, the scrutiny never fully went away. Over the years, community members have repeatedly mentioned Martin's name in tips to law enforcement, online discussions, interviews with journalists, conversations with the families. These mentions often revolve around alleged arguments, alleged parties, and alleged knowledge of what happened. But here's the key. Rumors are not evidence, and without evidence, investigators cannot act. Stephen Martin was part of the same rural social environment that both Jennifer and Phylicia moved through, a world of small towns, shared friends, ATV trails, parties, complicated relationships, and when two missing women share the same circle, people naturally look at the overlap. But again, overlap is not proof. With Phylicia reportedly telling her mother over and over what she knows what happened to Jennifer, and that she was afraid, and that she allegedly mentioned certain people by name. And Steve Martin is one that was publicly associated with these conversations, but these were private statements, no sworn testimony. And they can't be used as evidence in court. Law enforcement has never publicly named him as a suspect. This is crucial. Despite community speculation, repeated mentions in the media, his proximity to both women, police have never officially named Steve Martin as a suspect. They have never charged him. They have never publicly accused him of wrongdoing. This means either they lack evidence, or they cannot corroborate the information they received, or they have explored the lead and found nothing actionable. There was no physical evidence. This is why he was never charged. Jennifer's remains were incomplete, and Phylicia's have never been found. People talk, but few are willing to testify, and many stories contradict each other. And without a confession, prosecutors need strong forensic or testimonial evidence. Jennifer's skull alone cannot establish homicide. Phylicia's case has no remains at all. Even if investigators suspect someone, suspicion is not enough for charges. There's such thing as the wrong place and wrong time theory. Phylicia was at a gathering where people talked about or bragged about what happened to Jennifer. She knew too much, and that made her a target. This theory is not proven, but it is one that has persisted the longest. On the night Phylicia vanished, she stepped outside without her coat. She left her purse and her phone, and she intended to come right back. She was in a vulnerable environment. Others believed someone she knew was waiting. Some believed she was lured outside, and others believed she was taken to a location associated with the same group of people who partied at that trailer. None of this is confirmed, but it is the emotional truth of the community. The current status of the case of Jennifer Barziloski and Phylicia Thomas, the most significant development comes from a January 2026 Time Leader column focusing on Phylicia's mother, Pauline, and her ongoing fight for answers. Pauline is still waiting 22 years later for someone to come forward. The article states clearly that Phylicia is presumed to be the victim of a homicide, even though her body has never been found. Pauline believes someone in the community still holds the key to the truth. The piece emphasizes that all it will take is one person with a conscience to break the silence. Phylicia would be 43 years old in 2026. This case is not forgotten. The pain is not gone, and the silence is still the biggest barrier. There are no new investigative breakthroughs reported in 2026 with Jennifer Barziloski, but the most recent publicly available information continues to highlight that she was last seen with Steve Martin, who police told he dropped her off at the C Majors bar. Police found no evidence supporting the claim that he dropped her off there, and he was interviewed early in the investigation, but no charges were ever filed. The remains, the most recent publicly documented detail about Jennifer's case, it continues to shape the narrative around her disappearance. As of 2026, no one has been charged in either case. No new suspects have been publicly named, and no remains of Phylicia have been located. And no additional remains of Jennifer have been found beyond her skull, discovered in 2010. Both cases remain openly and officially active but stagnant. Pauline is still fighting, still searching, and still begging for answers. She believes someone in Luzerne County knows what happened. She believes fear, not ignorance, is the reason that the truth hasn't surfaced. She continues to push for renewed attention and community pressure. There's no closure. There's no justice. There's only waiting. Even after 22 years, these cases still appear in local media, and that's a sign that they continue to haunt Luzerne County. 2026 didn't bring new evidence, it brought renewed grief. The case is considered a cold case by law enforcement, but it's warm in the eyes of the community. Annual vigils will continue to be held in Nanticoke and Sweet Valley, serving both as a memorial and as a public plea for anyone with information to come forward. The family remains hopeful that modern forensic technology or a deathbed confession will eventually break the silence. The tragedy of Phylicia Thomas is the double silence. The silence of the woods where she likely rests, the silence of the people who were at that party in 2004, people who are now in their 40s, people who have moved on while Pauline Bailey still waits by the phone. Phylicia Albina Thomas was last seen wearing a blue pump and pantry shirt and a red fringed sweater. If you lived in the Sweet Valley or Hunlock Creek area in 2004 and remember anything, no matter how small, it's time to speak. Because secrets don't stay buried forever. They just wait for someone brave enough to dig them up. If you have any information, please contact the Pennsylvania State Police at Wyoming at 570.
We need to find the rest of the remains.
We believe that there's many other people that know what happened to Phylicia and Jennifer. There is a $2,000 reward in Crime Stoppers. If anybody has any information on the whereabouts of Phylicia Thomas, please call 1-800-4PA-TIPS, or you can email us at findphylicia@gmail.com. You can remain anonymous in anything that you tell us.
I just can't believe she's gone. I know it's almost 11 years. I just can't believe she's gone. Please, somebody, just help us and bring this to an end.